Okay, we're live.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the year-end roundup of Truly Inconsequential with my brother, Mr. Greer,
Hello.
and old Brimstone from the Grindhouse Radio. What do you call it? Listen, man, it has been an epic year of Truly Inconsequential.
Yes.
We have actually gone through so many different characters that, we never realized were so important.
Yeah. Very true.
It's incredible, because when you look back and you look at things and you analyze them, even though we didn't go super crazy into analyzing, but we, the analyzing we did, I think was, it pretty much shed a new light on some of these characters that we've done over the past months.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, I've it's just been through so many that I forgot a lot of the characters that we've done over the past few months. But
because of the inconsequentiality.
Yeah. I mean, it's just been like week after week, it's just different characters, so you kind of just lose track of a lot of the people that you just start talking about, and But before we get started, I just do want to say, everybody, if you're watching this on YouTube, please like, share, comment on the streams or on the videos. When we do go live, like I always say, please like, comment, and share, just so we can get pushed through the algorithm and more people can come see these and join the debates and join the arguments and stuff like that. You're gonna not see, and just obviously, you're not gonna see the chat move all that much because we're doing we're pre-recording this episode, so
yes.
This is not live.
Yes. So we are going to make sure that this is posted, but obviously we had to shut our studio down for a couple days to make sure that everything is taken care of and cleaned due to a scare of the COVID virus. So here we are, just trying to get this done and out of here before we have to shut down and do our cleanings. So that being said, Tom? I mean, we really have gone through so many different characters, and I'm kind of plugging away through some of them and just like taking a look, like, at what we've done and who we've gone, and pretty much knocked down to the very fabric of their being. And I'm still thinking that one of our originals, Kimmy Gibbler, all right, may very well be the most inconsequential of the year. Now, I don't know what your thoughts are. I mean, I also think that we've got Ronald McDonald is up there.
Ronald McDonald's up there. I think John from Garfield's up there.
Oh yeah.
I think
Fez.
Fez, yeah, maybe. I still don't know how Dory wound up on this show. Just because, that one didn't. That one even I remember. I vaguely remember doing that show, and I remember saying, I don't know how we could be arguing whether or not Dory's consequential, considering she's got her own movie.
Miss Yvonne.
Did we do? We did Miss Yvonne?
Miss Yvonne versus Chunk, actually.
We did. Yeah.
And then Diego, I think, was one of the biggest, but he did have his own show as well. But that's where we came down to it. Like, all right, well, he had his own show. Does that? You know what I mean? Does that constitute him as being consequential, even though he had his own show?
I think that was what, like, if I'm nitpicking the show as a whole, that was the one. I was the one down, like, because you could even make that case for Diego and even for Cleveland when we did Cleveland versus Ned Flanders,
right?
That those two guys had their own shows, so they are consequential to their shows, but not consequential to where they came from. Essentially, you know what I mean? So. It's a really weird fine line tightrope that we were kind of walking on some of those.
What about Jar Jar Binks? We did discuss Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah, that's a obvious one. You know what I mean? Everybody, for the most part, hates Jar Jar Binks. I think everybody that grew up enjoying the original trilogy before you saw the prequels hates Jar Jar Binks. But if you grew up with the prequels, you probably don't hate Jar Jar Binks all that much.
Fair enough. I mean, again, I didn't necessarily hate the character, but so many people did.
Yeah, he stunk. He was a useless, babbling character that just it was hard to really like him. He was more annoying than he was fun.
Fair enough. So, I mean, who should we really... I mean, we really need to figure out who is the most inconsequential of the year over all the characters that we've gone over. I think the last 5 that we mentioned were probably the most inconsequential.
Yeah, I mean, I
still
think Woodstock from Peanuts is pretty useless.
Really? I can't get behind that one. because he's iconic. He's an iconic character.
But that doesn't mean he's important to the show or to the property. You know what I
Fair
mean?
enough.
Like, and nowadays I don't feel like enough people know who Woodstock is.
Well, for the property, I think he's valuable. For the story, I don't know how important he
I don't
is
think
to
he's
the story.
more proper. I don't think he's more valuable than Snoopy or Charlie.
True, but I think he's probably like third and fourth in line. You know what I mean? Think about how many characters there are in the show and how many do you really know? You know Peppermint Patty, you know Linus, you know Marcy, you know what I mean? You might not even know all those characters.
No, I know them.
You know Pigpen, Schroeder.
Yeah, but we found out later on that Woodstock didn't even have a name until like 3 decades into the thing being into it actually being a show or it actually being a comic strip. You know what I mean? Like it was he was just a yellow bird that had just exists. You know what I mean?
Fair enough. But what again, you're talking about who else do we have? You know what I'm saying? Who else do we have? Miss Yvonne? I mean, really, was Miss Yvonne that important to Pee-wee's Playhouse?
Yeah, but nobody really was all that important to Pee-wee's Playhouse from either between Pee-wee and if like the only important things to Pee-wee and Pee-wee's Playhouse is Pee-wee and all the things of the Playhouse. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like everybody else was just they weren't all that needed. They weren't all that important.
Well, I mean, the King of Cartoons had a purpose.
Are you talking about like the show or the
show?
movie?
The show,
yeah.
Well, she wasn't in the movie. You know, the movie was Pee-wee and everything outside of the Playhouse.
Yeah.
Nothing. There was no quote unquote Playhouse in the Pee-wee movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though he did have some of the things in the house in the movies, it wasn't like. I mean, they never crossed.
No.
I can also go for John Arbuckle, Garfield's owner.
Yeah, John sucked. John wasn't really all that great of a character.
I can technically I would say that he's less consequential than Woodstock. Do you agree with that?
No, I don't agree with that.
Okay, so I feel that Woodstock is more consequential than Miss Yvonne. Right?
But I don't know what makes Woodstock important to
he's Snoopy's right hand. Him and Snoopy do everything together. He does more with Woodstock than he does with Charlie Brown.
Maybe. I mean, if you're putting him against Miss Yvonne, I guess maybe, but you know.
Well, I got to put him against somebody.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I would probably. I guess you could say Woodstock's more consequential to the Peanuts than Miss Yvonne is to Pee-wee's Playhouse, but
fair enough. So now with Miss Yvonne, if we're taking her and pitting her up against, I can't believe I said against like Chris Jericho just now. If we could put her up against somebody else to see who's more consequential between say her and Kimmy Gibbler. Who's more consequential?
Kimmy Gibbler is much more consequential than Miss Yvonne.
So Kimmy Gibbler is going to get
Kimmy
a
Gibbler's
pass.
in like every episode of that show. Miss Yvonne's not in every episode of Pee-wee's Playhouse.
So Kimmy Gibbler and Woodstock are getting a pass. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Because obviously there is somebody more inconsequential than the two of them.
Yeah.
So Miss Yvonne now versus John Arbuckle. You see what I mean? Like now we've got to kind of go down this list and see, who is more inconsequential.
What makes Miss Yvonne important to Pee-wee's Playhouse at all? Like the John at the very least is like he
raised Garfield.
He raised Garfield. He's his owner. He's like the character that Garfield can kind of sort of like beat up on and stuff like that. So he does have a purpose within Garfield, whether however boring of a character he really is.
Right.
So, but what is Miss Yvonne's purpose to the Playhouse other than being just a female that just shows up? You know what I mean?
And everybody goes,
makes.
"Ooh!"
Yeah, that's what I mean.
You know.
They just go and they make dirty jokes about her. You know what I mean? That's it. That's really all. That's her entire function of Pee-wee's Playhouse. You know what I mean?
That's true. I definitely agree with you on that. So I think that Miss Yvonne now, let's put her up against what's his face? Oh my God, I can't believe I just blanked
I think
out.
we're going to ultimately just wind up saying that Miss Yvonne is the most inconsequential simply because, like I said, the only thing that's really consequential to Pee-wee's Playhouse is Pee-wee and the Playhouse.
All right, but we still
really
have others to
I know, no,
choose from.
Oh, no, yeah, I get that.
What do you call it from Family Guy that we just did?
Cleveland?
Cleveland. Just because he got his own show. Again, we said nobody cares about it. Diego. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing. If we pit Diego, let's go here. Since they both had their own shows, Cleveland and Diego, who's more consequential between Cleveland and Diego? You see what I'm saying? And then we have Miss Yvonne on the side, so we can kind of break it down and figure out where we need to go. I mean, Diego was garbage.
Went 5 seasons. The Cleveland show. I'm gonna see how many seasons they all went. I totally forgot. The Cleveland show went 4 seasons. So Go Diego Go was around like a year longer than the Cleveland show was.
Really?
Yeah.
So Go Diego Go.
It's a children's show.
So are we gonna deem Diego more consequential than Cleveland? Diego didn't really have a part even in the Dora series. At least Cleveland had a part and a role in the Family Guy
I mean, like
series.
he did, but I again, it's also I'm trying to. I can't fight for Diego because I don't really know Diego. I don't.
Right.
I never watched. I was too old for Dora the Explorer. I don't have kids to watch Dora the Explorer,
Right.
so. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna innately say Cleveland just because I know Cleveland. You know what I mean?
So you're gonna say Cleveland is more consequential?
I'd have to. I have no discourse to fight for Diego because I really don't know him as a character.
So
That's something we need to do. We need to do that more going into the new year. Not argue people that either one of us don't really know all that well.
Well, that's gonna be tough. But we'll have to figure it out. But so Diego and Miss Yvonne right now are on the chopping block.
Yeah.
For the year's worst. All right. So let's take it a step further. Babs Bunny. Right?
Lola Bunny.
Lola Bunny, I meant,
Yeah.
not Babs. Lola Bunny.
Yeah.
You know, what do you think of that? I mean, didn't we deem that she was really inconsequential, like completely inconsequential?
I thought Daphne wound up being inconsequential.
Really? Was Daphne more inconsequential?
I honestly, I don't. That's what I'm saying. I don't remember. I think Lola Bunny is who against who?
Well, we've got to put her up against Miss Yvonne and Diego.
I think
At this
Lola.
point.
I think Lola Bunny's more consequential to Space Jam than Miss Yvonne was to Pee-wee's Playhouse. Lola Bunny was the only tune that really knew how to play sports.
Okay.
She was the only one that knew how to play basketball.
So let's move Lola Bunny out of this. We're keeping Miss Yvonne, of course, and we're keeping Diego. What about Toad? You remember Toad, I think, took the brunt of that whole episode. It was Toad versus Tails versus Knuckles versus Luigi. I mean,
Toad. Toad, I would say, is inconsequential just because there's so many versions of Toad that no one Toad is all that important to Mario
okay.
and the Mushroom Kingdom. Like the one
Fair enough.
specific Toad. Like there's a bunch of them. There's Toadette. There's Toad. There's a bunch of mushroom-headed people running around the Mushroom Kingdom within the Mario universe. So I don't know if Toad is necessarily all that consequential.
But technically, if Toad, and we're considering Toad as multiple entities, right? Then technically that is making him pretty consequential simply because there are so many of them. If you yoinked him out of Mario, then you don't have any of those Toads to replace it. You don't have anything to replace it.
I guess so. I mean, against Miss Yvonne, I guess, again, I think Toad's probably more consequential than if Miss Yvonne is.
Okay. So what do you call it? So we're going to keep Toad then.
Yeah, I'll keep Toad.
We'll keep Toad.
I'm fine with keeping Toad.
Okay. Now let's see who else we have. Aquaman, I still think is more consequential than Miss Yvonne.
Probably than Miss Yvonne is.
She really might very well be between her and Diego. She might take the full brunt of the year.
I mean, I think it's Miss Yvonne's going to take the brunt just because, again, like I keep hammering home, nobody's more consequential than Pee-wee in the entirety of the Playhouse. You know what I mean? I don't think anybody necessarily cares about. As somebody who used to watch Pee-wee's Playhouse when I was a kid, I didn't care about any of the other characters that came in. You know, I just cared about Pee-wee and the craziness that went on in the Playhouse. You know.
Now, although the Burger King won between King and Ronald McDonald, all right. Do you think either of them really are consequential overall, more consequential than...
I remember not really being all that into this one just because it was like, they're just food mascots, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I don't need them to want to go and get food, you know what I mean? Like, if you yoink the both of them out, it's not going to make me want to get or not get Burger King or McDonald's anymore, you know what I mean?
All right, fair enough. But at the end of the day, like
I
back in the day when you were a kid...
I think food mascots are incredibly inconsequential, period.
See, I disagree with you on that. I think food mascots are very, very consequential because people identify with those characters or they, enjoy a character. Come on, man. When you were a kid and you saw Tony the Tiger, you didn't get excited. Oh, they're great.
I was fine because Frosted Flakes tasted good. It didn't need Tony the Tiger.
But would you have tasted the Frosted Flakes if you weren't into Tony the Tiger? You see what I'm saying?
You act like I had a choice in the cereal that we bought for my house.
Okay, well, our childhoods were different. But what do you call it? But for the most part, like I used to say, "Oh wow, Tony the Tiger, they're great," or the Toucan Sam. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For Fruit Loops rather. Snap, Crackle, and Pop for Rice Krispies. I always thought that these are iconic characters that they're made to make the cereal more entertaining to kids. You know what I mean?
I understand.
And I've always liked them. I always thought they were really cool. It's matter of fact, I even had, I don't know where they are at this point, but they might be gone for good. But what do you call it? I had the little characters of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I used to have the tapes of the McDonald's cartoon that they used to have when I was a kid. I used to watch it when I was a kid. But again, I don't think that they're all that important to. Like nowadays, I don't think anybody really cares about Ronald McDonald or the Burger King at this point.
So do either of them stand up to Miss Yvonne? You see what I'm saying? Are they more important to their brands than Miss Yvonne was to Pee Wee's Playhouse? You see what I'm going there?
I guess they're more important to McDonald's and Burger King than Miss Yvonne is to the Playhouse. I guess so.
Okay.
And
Diego as well.
I guess I have a hard time even just arguing for or against Diego because I just really don't. I don't know him. I've never
He
seen.
sucks.
I've never seen an episode of Go Diego Go. I've never seen him in Dora the Explorer. Like my experience at Dora the Explorer is like my little brother's or my little brother because he caught the
tail end.
The tail. No, he caught the beginning of Dora the Explorer.
Right.
And then he aged out of it, and then that was never on again in my house or anybody's house. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like I'm so out on all of those cartoons that I don't know them. You know what I mean? Like had I had a kid at some point, maybe, but.
Now, what do you call it? And I know you love Toy Story, but Bo Peep, you know what I mean? Really, is Bo Peep all that important to Toy Story?
Now she's probably one of the most important characters
from the last episode,
Toy Story 4. She's the one that shows Woody how to live life without Andy. She's the one that helps put the end to Woody's story within Toy Story. Yeah, she's absolutely important.
Okay, all right. Let's go back to Fez. Is Fez more important than Miss Yvonne? You see, that might be a little tough.
Yes. No, I think Fez is absolutely more important than Miss Yvonne because of all the funny moments he's had and because I think Fez does in a show that's a sitcom about middle America and is supposed to be a comedy show. Fez actually shows they try to make light of it, but Fez shows how a foreign kid in middle America, Wisconsin, is treated by everybody back in the 70s.
Okay.
Like Fez, you get a glimpse. Like it's subtle race. Like that 70s show is a great show, but they do a good job of trying to. I don't want to be misquoted on this, but. Like, there's subtle racism jabs that get thrown at Fez regularly.
Oh, yeah.
And, it's all obviously trying to be playful and in good fun, and they're not, like, deliberately trying to be hateful when they go at him. But, Fez kind of shows Fez, like, I remember that being one of the topics, that each person within the group of that 70s show represents a different sect of people within high schools.
Right.
Fez, I think, is definitely important because he shows you what life as an immigrant or a foreign kid in America was like in the 70s.
Right. And you think that he's more important than Screech?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I think he's more important than Screech.
Is Screech more important than Miss Yvonne? You see what I mean? I think he is.
Trying
to kind of hit all our bases.
I think he is because I think I know Screech got deemed inconsequential compared to Ron Weasley. I think he didn't have a fair fight.
He didn't have a fair fight.
But no, Screech again. Saved by the Bell is a show about all the different aspects of the high school life and all the different aspects of kids. So Screech was the weird kid, and the weird kid got a shine on television because of Screech. So yes, he's more consequential than Miss Yvonne.
Now, and again, I'm agreeing with you on most of these, which is why I'm not combating. The only ones I'm combating about is where I might disagree.
Yeah.
Now, here we have a situation. Again, we're going to keep Miss Yvonne because she seems right now that she is, aside from Diego, who you can't argue. Which, if I have to, I'll argue with him towards the end. But I want to see how far we get. We've got, say, our secondary and tertiary characters, which, I guess Miss Yvonne could fit into secondary, tertiary, but how about Newman, who is a secondary character in Seinfeld? Newman, I mean, the only thing that we did with Newman is the fact that, he's in a lot of episodes. He interacted a lot with Kramer, you know what I mean? And Seinfeld it was his arch nemesis.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he's more consequential than Miss Yvonne because I think to bring it back to like a video game thing, I think Newman and Kramer are like Wario and Waluigi to Seinfeld and Costanza's Mario and Luigi. You know what I mean? Like
okay,
like Newman is the anti Jerry, is the, you know what I mean? Like the like the lone antagonist of Seinfeld. You know what I mean? Like I think he's more important to the Seinfeld brand and the Seinfeld show than Miss Yvonne is to Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Okay. I mean, thinking more on Pee-wee's Playhouse and the fact that, Miss Yvonne was also the love interest of Cowboy Curtis. Am I correct? And Cowboy Curtis was very important to Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Yeah, but I think Miss Yvonne, I don't know if she was just a love interest of Cowboy Curtis. I think everybody was into Miss Yvonne.
Oh, they all wanted a piece. I mean, it was...
You know what I mean? So I don't necessarily think it was just that,
Okay, so Newman is getting the pass right now.
I think so. I think Newman is much more important than Miss Yvonne.
Okay. So again, it's still Miss Yvonne and Diego, and they're from our earlier episodes. Dee Dee? Do you think that Dee Dee has as much importance as Miss Yvonne does? See, I think that she does.
Yeah, I do too.
I simply believe that she is very important because she is, the antagonist for the entire,
Yeah, I
show.
think so too. She's the one that makes Dexter's life hell. Otherwise, if she didn't, we would just have a show of Dexter. It'd just be literal Dexter's laboratory and him just doing experiments, which maybe might be an entertaining show. But Dee Dee at least threw like chaos in the mix and made it more entertaining. So yeah, no, I definitely think Dee Dee's important.
So now I actually have this one might be a roadblock for us. What about the Great Gazoo?
He stinks. He's literally so like nobody needs the Great Gazoo.
Nobody needs him. So now, if we have the Great Gazoo, that's why I wanted to leave him towards the end. But you've got the Great Gazoo against Miss Yvonne and Diego. Diego at least has his own series. As much as he sucks, he's got his own series, and I wish I could deem him as inconsequential because I freaking hate that stupid character.
Yeah,
but Great Gazoo was not even a tertiary character. He showed up and popped up here and there, and just kind of made his way onto the screen. What do you call it? Miss Yvonne was even in more episodes, I would assume, of Pee-wee than he was in the Jetsons and Flintstones. Now I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely don't know that.
So that one might be a little tough. And I mean, I would even throw April O'Neil, but I think she's too consequential.
Yeah, no, April is definitely April. April was one of those characters that probably shouldn't have even, that almost shouldn't have wound up on this show because she's too important. She's the touch to the human world for the turtles.
Oh, and let's not forget Jar Jar, because again, we had Jar Jar in there, but he might be dumb, but he might be more important.
Yeah, well, I think the problem with it is again, who do you really care about from Pee-wee's Playhouse, or who really makes Pee-wee's Playhouse important more than Pee-wee and the Playhouse? What makes that, like, all those other characters are just
throwaway characters.
throwaway characters. You know what I mean? Like if you never saw Cowboy Curtis, if you never saw Miss Yvonne, if you never saw the King of Cartoons, and maybe the King of Cartoons. King of Cartoons
King
might
Cartoons,
be
I
the,
think, is
the one that
yeah.
you can
argue.
argue.
See, yeah, I mean, because they're just characters that kind of drop in and add to the the mischief or the mayhem that's happening.
Yeah.
There. And again, I loved Pee Wee's Playhouse.
Yeah, I loved it as a kid.
And I love all the characters. I mean, Miss Yvonne's probably the least, for me, I personally, liked her the least. No, I didn't like the nosy neighbor either. I can't remember the name.
Yeah, I don't remember the name either.
You know what I'm talking about, though.
I think so.
So, but what do you call it? So, Miss Yvonne, Great Gazoo. We're taking Diego out of the conversation, and what do you call it? Jar Jar Binks. Are we keeping Jar Jar? Or are we throwing him away?
I think Jar Jar is more consequential than Miss Yvonne.
Okay, so Miss Yvonne versus Great Gazoo. Which way are you fighting on this? I might wind up being right along with you. I just with both. I like both characters. I like Gazoo more than I like her, which is crazy. You know what I mean? It's crazy, but I go further back with that character. So
I don't know. Maybe
where do we go?
Maybe Great Gazoo is more consequential than Miss Yvonne. Maybe.
Do you think?
I don't know.
Great Gazoo. I mean, how many movies? I mean, yes, he was. He was actually in one or two of the movies as well.
Well, weren't there only 2 Flintstone movies?
I'm pretty sure
Live
that he
action
was in
Flintstone
them.
movies.
Yeah.
I think there was only 2.
He was in one of them, I think, and then Miss Yvonne was in the Broadway show for Pee Wee's Playhouse.
Yeah, they were. Yes, she was.
So, I don't know. I mean, the two of them have to go head to head, and it's. Even though it's,
I'll say okay. I'll give it a pass. I'll say Miss Yvonne's more important than the Great Gazoo because Miss Yvonne is the lone female character a part of in the Playhouse. You know what I mean? Without Miss Yvonne, you got it's
a sausage.
It's a literal sausage party. I mean, you can infer on which characters in the Playhouse are females, but they're inanimate objects.
Yeah, Cherry's technically a female.
It's a chair.
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean.
I know what you mean, but I'm just saying. You know what I mean? So. Does that make her more consequential than the Great Gazoo from the Flintstones? I don't know. To be honest with you, the Great Gazoo is more of your alley anyway because I know him from the Flintstones, but that's before my time anyway. So
all he was a pop-in character, for these.
Miss Yvonne's just a pop-in character.
Yeah, that's true. We never did Batmite. We got to do Batmite next year. Do you know anything about him?
No.
Oh. Gonna have to brush up on some of that. But all right, so let's see. So Miss Yvonne versus Great Gazoo. I'm gonna have to think. This is tough because I really could care less about either character. I think that she was around more so than Great Gazoo. I think I'm gonna have to go with Great Gazoo in my opinion as the most truly inconsequential of the year. What do you think?
I think that's fine. I think that's fair. The Great Gazoo kind of stunk, and I think he's probably the most forgettable character on the Flintstones.
Yeah, I mean, I always remembered him. So with that, I could disagree, but I'm going to agree with you in the fact that I think he is the most inconsequential of the year. I mean, and very, very close behind is Miss Yvonne, and I'm going to tack on Diego right after that because I really can't stand that character at all. But just because I can't stand him doesn't mean that he's not consequential in some way, shape, or form. And I think the consequentiality of Diego is the fact that one, it was a male character to combat the Dora female character, and it was empowerment for young Latin children, Latino children who needed somebody to emulate on screen, and so I think that I can give him the pass, but the other two characters, I mean, there really was no need for Great Gazoo. It's all you. You're the most inconsequential of 2021, and now we're going into 2022. So that's all the time we have for you guys for Truly Inconsequential this week. Greer, you want to tell them what to do?
Please rate, review, subscribe, like the videos, comment on the videos, give us who do you think is the most inconsequential of the year. Go back and watch all the old ones if you want. They're all there. They're I think I don't know if they're all uploaded on YouTube. I think there is a couple that we only had on Facebook so before we could actually do the multi-streaming. So I'll try to move those over at some point.
And you could also catch them on podcast.
Yeah, you can catch them on podcast. But if we can get those YouTube numbers up, that would be really great. So please, 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 please help us out there. But yeah, guys, thank you for being here. I really, really appreciate it.
Very, very cool. What do you call it? We'll be going into the next year with some new characters and some new zest for inconsequentiality. And make sure you check us out every Thursday night on the Grindhouse Radio. This week, our New Year's episode, we have got Danny Tamborelli coming on and joining us. So make sure you check that out. And listen, guys, have a great, happy, and healthy New Year. We love you. We'll see you next week. Next year.